And here we are, my friends, the final chapter of the book of Isaiah. Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you built unto me? And where is the place of my rest? For all those things hath mine hand made, and all those things have been, saith the Lord. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man. He that sacrificeth a lamb, as if he cut off a dog's neck. He that offereth an oblation, as if he offered swine's blood. He that burneth incense, as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delighteth in their abominations. What is being said right here? Each act of a hypocrite's worship is as an idolatrous abomination. I also will choose their delusions, and will bring their fears upon them. Because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before mine eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not. The Lord says, I will choose their delusions or their childish follies, as God sends on some men strong delusion that they should believe a lie, like Paul wrote to the Thessalonians. So on others he sends a spirit of childish folly, meaning just the simplest of things they'll stumble over, which makes their conduct silly and headstrong, embarrassing, a humiliation. Persons whose characters are of this stamp are especially liable to vain and groundless fears. They become afraid of every little thing. This reminds me of L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. He thought himself a great God that knew everything in the whole universe. And he wound up by the end of his life like just a little scared hermit that died by himself. He was afraid of any visitor that would come around. He would flee at any little sound that happened around him. He was consumed with terrors. And there is really such a trickery with evil. It begins by making you think that you're invincible, that you're everything and nothing could ever harm you, and it winds up leaving you shattered, just a fraction of your normal self. But since we're on the subject of L. Ron Hubbard, it's a easy segue to make that of Jack Parsons, and whom was a close friend of L. Ron Hubbard for a while. Let's see about this Jack Parsons. He was also a very evil man.
During World War II, it was Jack and his other co-founders of the Aerojet Engineering Corporation who realized they could put rocket engines on planes, propelling the aircraft skyward. Planes could now safely take off from short runways on aircraft carriers. Their invention proved so lucrative that by 1944, Aerojet was valued at $150,000, or $2.3 million today. During the war, Jack and his colleagues are making money hand over fist, and Jack takes that wealth and bankrolls his obsession with Thelema, a new religious movement founded by the renowned English occultist Aleister Crowley.
It's really important to understand that Parsons had been interested supposedly since high school in these metaphysical questions, and maintained at one point that he had done an invocation in high school that had scared him so much that he stopped for years because he felt that he personally was too powerful.
He rents numerous rooms in his 19-room mansion out to anyone as long as they don't believe in God, and conducts occult rituals involving chanting, black robes, and group sex. Eventually, L. Ron Hubbard finds himself at one of Jack's ragers, and the two become fast friends. Yes, this is the same L. Ron Hubbard who would go on to found Scientology. L. Ron and Jack spend days conducting a series of invocations that they call the Babylon Working. They follow chants and rituals created by Crowley. He takes jobs building explosives for film shoots, and it's here that we find him on that fateful day, mixing chemicals in his garage for explosions that will be set off in front of movie cameras. June 1952, Pasadena, California. 37-year-old rocket scientist Jack Parsons mixes a highly explosive cocktail of chemicals in his garage. The upscale street is calm and streaked in summer sunlight. Only the sounds of camphor leaves break the silence as Jack methodically adds more chemicals to a mixture in a coffee can. Then, he drops it. The explosion nearly flattens the garage as mansions shake a mile away. Jack writhes on the floor, bleeding out. Part of his face is missing. Both of his legs are broken. His left arm is too, and his right arm is blown off. A policeman arrives and finds Jack charred and stuck underneath rubble. He leans in and hears Jack's last words. "I wasn't done." He's rushed to a hospital where he dies later that day.
Verse 5 says, "Hear the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, Let the Lord be glorified. But he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that rendereth recompense to his enemies. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child." It's very strongly believed that this is speaking of Israel bringing forth the Messiah. The whole structure of the chapter seems to refer to the period when the Messiah would appear. The state of things described in this verse exactly accords with what occurred on the introduction of Christianity. They who embraced the Messiah were excommunicated and persecuted, and they who did it believed or professed to believe that they were doing it for the glory of God. Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. This whole verse is expressive of a great and sudden salvation which God would work for his church, like the delivery of a woman, and that before her travail and without pain, of a man-child. It undoubtedly refers to the introduction of the gospel and its rapid and unexpected progress. And we can see this by the number of people that were converted so quickly upon the day of Pentecost. In Acts 2:41, "Then they that gladly received his word were baptized, and the same day there were added unto them about 3,000 souls." And again in Acts 4, "Howbeit many of them which heard the word believed, and the number of the men was about 5,000. So we just see an explosion of Christians. But others, such as myself, we have also looked at 1948 as being a type of that, how it was literally a nation born in one day after being dead for 2,000 years. So there are different interpretations of it. I do believe that the Christian fits better because of the mention of the man-child. So my opinion has slightly changed in regard to that a bit. "Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, saith the Lord? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, saith thy God? Rejoice ye with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all ye that love her. Rejoice for her. Rejoice for joy with her, all ye that mourn for her. That ye may suck and be satisfied with the breast of her consolations, that ye may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall ye suck, ye shall be borne upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees. As one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you, and ye shall be comforted in Jerusalem. And when ye see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb. And the hand of the Lord shall be known toward his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies." So now we see the rapid progress from a nation being born at once suddenly to these latter days, and how look up and rejoice because there is this battle coming in which all the enemies and all of you will see him, everyone. "For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. For I know their works and their thoughts, Remember how it says of Jesus how he knew their thoughts? And that's just such a bizarre and scary concept to try to grasp, is how even our thoughts are known unto God. And I have the worst of thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pool, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord. As the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel unto the house of the Lord. Quite staggering for us in these modern times to hear about how people will go back and resort to using horses and chariots and mules and all this, but it will be a destruction like it's never been. Whenever this great earthquake hits, there'll be a meteor strike. There'll be giant hailstones strike the earth like missiles the size of beach balls, and they'll just hit and just destroy everything. Everything will be totally just annihilated. We'll have to go back to using horses and all of this. There'll be no cars and vehicles in the Millennial Reign. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith the Lord, for as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make. So he's not talking about, once again, this goes back to chapter 65, whenever he mentions the new heaven and new earth. He says, I will make those. You see, the old prophet, he has a concept of it, but no real details. Which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord. Just like those that I will make shall remain before me, so shall your seed and your name remain. He's talking about how the new heaven and the new earth are eternal. So he says, forever shall your name also be before me. And in these closing verses, we can also see definitive proof that Isaiah is only really speaking on the millennial reign, as right here. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another. And we're told that there's no use for the moon nor the sun in the eternal city. Okay, now all the heavens are burned up with a fiery, fervent heat and all of this. So this right here, the moon still stands, and the sun. From one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. So there's going to also be dead bodies laying around as a remembrance. For their worms shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. They're going to be there for a remembrance. Now we know that nothing that defiles, no death, no nothing impure, a dead body is definitely an unclean thing. None of that allowed in the eternal city. Obviously, speaking of the millennial kingdom. And that is it for the book of Isaiah, my dear friends. If you all have been beside of me this entire time, I know I've learned a lot. I've learned 99% of my knowledge of Isaiah now comes from just these past 2 months, or however long it's taken to do this book. We will be getting into the book of Ezekiel after this. And after Ezekiel, our primary focus is going to be on the New Testament, Paul's writings and all that. That is the plan now, as many are the plans of man, but only the Lord's will prevails in the end. I thank you all for joining me, my dear friends. I've so thoroughly enjoyed this study of this great book of Isaiah. Once again, I hope that you all learned something. Lord of peace be with you. Amen.